Welcome to the Broad Shoulders podcast. I started this podcast because I learned so much from the women around me, and in some ways, I believe we really help still raise each other. We'll be exploring universal concepts that bond professionally driven women. Good and questionable ideas, life hacks, good advice, compassion during hard times, professional guidance. I wanted to bring the magic of Broad Shoulder events to this podcast. I have with me today Allie Stone and Jamaica Ponder. Why don't you just introduce yourselves?
I can go first. I'm Jamaica. I am a journalist. I recently started my own media company, so I guess that also makes me an entrepreneur, but that's like a new title. But previously I spent like the first and last 3 years of my career working for CBS here in Chicago as like a broadcast journalist. So doing TV news, talking about food, art, culture. And now I'm moving into the corporate media space, but still staying with some TV stuff. There's a lot of new stuff going on. But yeah, and I live here in Chicago and I love it so much. But yeah, that's me. What about you, Allie?
Hello, I'm Allie. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I'm a photographer by trade, and most recently I founded the Studio Chicago recently, almost 4 years ago, which is wild. And the Studio Chicago is a creative hub in the South Loop. We are a photography studio rental and a team of creatives, photographers, videographers, event planners, and we work with brands from startups to larger national corporations to create marketing content.
Okay, Mackenzie Childs and McDonald's. Okay, I'm just going to get into it. So do you consider yourselves high-performing women, and what does that mean to you?
I think I'd like to consider myself a high-performing woman, but I feel like we're always the hardest on ourselves. And something I'm working on and need to be better about is I feel like I am always so focused on what's next and how can I continue to be better and how can I continue to improve this business and improve what we're doing for the community, that I don't take the time to appreciate and be proud of what we have done. So I think I would like to consider myself that, but I'm not sure I'm quite there yet.
But you've done so much.
Thank you.
What are the things you've done?
What are the things?
I want you to brag right now.
I'm really bad at that. Okay. Well, I guess like from the ground up, I built my business from the ground up by myself would be where it all started. Many years of hustling to kind of figure out what this looks like. And my business was born almost 15 years ago, but the studio was born out of the pandemic and a need for community and a need for supporting creatives and being together in person and working together to create. And I just kind of took a leap of faith and went for it. And now we've supported over 2,200 brands. We have thousands of people in our doors every month, and we're continuing to grow. So there's my little humble brag.
She's a high performer, you guys. One of your colleagues, one of your team members, who, by the way, like your whole squad is amazing. But Brandon, I was at an event and saw him. He was like, I don't know how Allie does it. And I'm like, I know. She's the real deal.
I sleep with my computer.
But you're very relationship driven. Say it again.
I sleep with my computer. That's how I do it.
Yeah,
no.
Right.
Luckily
but you're very relationship driven. And I think that's part of like why you're successful. And I would definitely... She's a high performer.
100%.
I need a bell. Ding, ding. Okay. Do you identify as a high performer?
Yeah, 100%. But I think that high performance was always an expectation from my parents and also where I grew up. I went to a really academically competitive high school. And so not performing well was really looked down upon. Like, it wasn't cool to be good at sports. It was cool to get into an Ivy League college, like where I grew up. And so that sort of then going to a competitive university where everyone is like performing.
Medell.
Yes. And everyone's on Adderall and doing way more than they should humanly be able to. And so again, performance and your ability to succeed by whatever metrics your specific industry has, that's always been, I feel like, at the forefront of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And that recently has not been the case, like where I'm like not going off of some preset form of metrics to decide whether or not I'm doing well or performing highly. I think it's like a reprioritization of relationships. And also, I don't know, I think as I try and figure out what I want my life to look like in the long run, I have to decide what performing well means to me. And it means being healthy, like well-fed, well-rested, being happy in terms of liking my home, liking my friends, having a good relationship with my partner and my parents. And, you know, having enough money to keep myself alive, but not necessarily centering that. But that's new. That's like within the past like 3 or 4 years that I've repositioned what it means to perform at a high level. But before, it was like these very stringent metrics that, you know, grades or how much money you're making or how fancy or high profile your job might be. Those were things that I was definitely like using as my litmus for like, am I doing well? But that's like really tired. So,
yeah. You're saying your parents, or like in your upbringing, it was
stringent academics.
Yeah. Which I kind of wish that I had that. I'm always doing professional development and like having to relearn things. Like I had to go back and relearn English because I still got things wrong.
Sure.
Like I still can't spell entrepreneur without. I
That's
can't.
a tough one.
It is
I don't know how to spell
I know it's a
entrepreneur
hard one,
either.
but there's things I skipped over in like maybe 9th grade that you kind of need in your life.
Sure.
My parents growing up were always very supportive of what we wanted to do. They weren't particularly hard on us in school. They expected us to do well. Like they weren't going to be thrilled if we came home with C's or even B's. I mean, I was a straight A student, so like I did work hard in school. That was important, but they were more so like, follow your dreams, and like we're going to support you in the things also that aren't just school or aren't just academics. And I think that's part of what allowed me to take the path that I decided to take.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on who your kid is, because my brother is 8 years younger than me, and he's just a totally different person. But we're also being raised by different sets of parents. 8 years is a decent amount of time for people to like grow and develop as individuals. He's in the middle of the college application process, and I see how my parents are handling him. Like, oh, maybe you don't have to take your ACT again. Meanwhile, it was like, Jamaica, go take your ACT again. And I responded really well, telling me what to do, and that was helpful for me. My brother doesn't respond to that at all. Like, if you tell him what to do, he won't do it. So the way to get him to do his homework is be like, oh, you could not. Do you want to go to college? Up to you. You know, and so it's just like different people respond to
Is it a
different
younger
things.
child thing?
Isn't it? I'm like, is it just because you're the youngest? La, 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 la. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if that maybe is part of it. And them being softer, that's definitely half of it. But I think in terms of parenting, you just need to know who your kid is and what they respond to.
Parents are always like, you can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. So they were always like very encouraging, but it wasn't like a mandate to be something, even academically. Okay, wait, going back to high performers. So you're both high performers in my view. I think that's why I wanted to have both of you on the podcast, especially because the Broad Shoulders community, which is, I mean, really up until this moment, we've done dine-arounds and events. And so this past year, or I guess in 2024, I did an event in Huntington Beach, California. I did one in Atlanta, Georgia, which those women are my favorite new community ever. I can't wait to go back. Dallas, Texas, DC, and then of course Chicago. And it's like, there's so many fantastic women doing fantastic things. I just love comparing notes. And I think any woman who's ambitious and professionally driven, but especially both of you as entrepreneurs and worked in corporate environments and just make so many possibilities happen in a day. What are the things that work for you as high performers? Like, what are your non-negotiables? Because you have big responsibilities for yourself, for your community, for your industry, for others.
My non-negotiable is no bullshit, no drama. Like that goes for me, that goes for the team, that goes for anyone I want to work with. It's like, this is who I am. There's no games, there's no playing. It's like, let's both bring what we have to the table. Let's support each other in the best way we possibly can. There's no runarounds. That's like definitely a boundary for me and something that I really drive home about with my team in particular. That's like, if there's anything anybody needs, anything anybody thinks that should be done differently, or something that we're lacking, or something we could do better, like never be afraid to bring that to the table. Like we are a team, and let's improve together and be honest and make sure that everybody is the happiest, and also like delivering the best quality of work for our clients. So yeah, no bullshit, no drama.
I just think people who are like, I think that's such a good rule in anything. Because I think drama is insecurity or boredom or just immaturity. You're not going to coerce people by like talking shit or talking, changing a view. Like,
I'm like, I don't even know how to participate with drama. I'm like,
me neither.
But I also feel like in news, which is the world I come from, everyone, like, you can't take anything personally. People are going to tear you apart. They're going to tear your ideas apart. They're going to question you, which is the job of a journalist. And so I think that the idea that like there would be some sort of like interpersonal beef with business. I'm like, are we talking about money or your feelings? Right.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sorry you're sad, but like we're working, you know?
And that's such a good point. Like there has to be that line is like business and personal. And like we're operating a business. Like this has nothing to do with you as a human being.
At all.
Like we just need to succeed in this task.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think people get lost in the sauce and they, you know, they get they just aren't prioritizing. And yeah, when I see that happen, I'm like, oh.
It's just so distracting. It's just such a waste of time. But I think the human element is, I think some people are just wired that way and they get stuck in that. I mean, the exact reason I started my business was because I was like, I just want the work to speak for itself. I'm sick of all this bullshit on Capitol Hill and getting shit on for my work. When I was like, wait, my stuff actually is like making the news. My stuff's actually getting things done. It was so much drama to get the work done.
Yeah.
And now it's just about the work. Okay, something that I have really started doing, I would say in the last couple of years, is like romanticizing my life. Like, I love a good candle. I fucking love music on in the background.
Okay, yeah.
And like really setting the vibe and realizing like that's when I'm like in a flow state or happier, when I can actually like sit still. So I'd love to just hear your thoughts on like do you just take a step back and be like, wow, I have a great life and I'm going to have a great day? Or like, what do you romanticize your life? I know I'm like zooming in on this in a weird way. Here we are.
When I was a kid and I was always kind of referred to by family members as being like fully delusional. Just like in a different world, because I feel like life has always been really romantic to me. Like it's just great, you know. I'm almost always in a good mood because I'm happy to be alive, and you know, but I feel like I'm blessed to have that natural disposition about me. Like I just came out and I was like, yeah, I like it here. You know, whatever this lifetime is really rocking for me. And but that has not always been the case. You know, obviously things are difficult and not everything is like peachy. But I think that living in your own world, like lighting the candle, listening to the music, feeling like you're in a music video, feeling like you're that Carrie Bradshaw when you're crossing the street, like really being your own main character and not in a irritating sort of way, not in a self-absorbed or, you know, lack of self-awareness, not like Carrie Bradshaw, not actually like
that's
her.
why I wanted to like bring it up to like peek inside. I don't know, for a long time my mindset was like the things I was doing wrong. Like you have to retrain your mind, right? And like your behaviors. And I would just sit there in anxiety. And I love that you've always had that. Like I've had my own world. Like I love hearing that. Right, yeah. 'Cause this is like new for me. I'm like, wow, everything's great. And I don't know if it's an attitude thing or like things are actually great, but I spent most of my free time or alone time for a long time like not thinking things were great and not recognizing that I just love a good fucking candle.
It's context helps too, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like a huge thing that my parents would do when I was a kid, my family's from Chicago, but I didn't grow up here. They would make me like hang out with my cousins who did not grow up like me and were in a totally different world. And I was forced to like interact with things I hadn't seen before at a really young age, where I'm like, I can't really be that upset. You know, I've seen some craziness. And I think that perhaps my day, while difficult, may not be the worst day that's going on right now. And I feel like when you're in news and working on Capitol Hill, you're constantly inundated with what's going on in the world. And how can you not then contextualize yourself as somebody who's like infinitely blessed to not be in a position of someone you're advocating for, or not to be living through yet another revolution? So I feel like if you take it from this like big macro level of like, you know, it could be worse, which, you know, you don't really want to compare stuff, but it helps me. I'm like, you know, I'm actually doing pretty well and I'm really lucky to have the life that I do. Then it makes it easier for the micro. When someone's an asshole to me, I'm like, you know what, they're probably just having a bad day, rather than I'm the worst person, everybody hates me, my life is falling apart. Because it's like you're kind of working, I don't know, it's like a trickle down, and it doesn't work in the economy, but it does work for happiness.
Yeah, and it goes back to like not taking things personally. Right now we're not talking about business anymore, but a lot of times how people treat you, people who aren't close to you, of course, doesn't have anything to do with you. And realizing that statement of like someone's rude to you and like, oh, well, they're having a bad day. It's not like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
I think that makes all the change in the world.
Especially with clients, I feel like you probably have a decent amount of experience with this. Like clients just coming at you with crazy energy. You being like, wait, wait a second.
It definitely can happen. We're pretty lucky, but it does happen. It does happen for sure. Yeah.
But do you romanticize your life, Allie?
I surely try to. Like I absolutely feel like the luckiest person on earth, and also pretty happy and just very grateful all the time. And I am very aware of the world of privilege that I was born into, and I don't take that for granted. And I definitely do in ways. I also love a good candle. Have the fireplace on every day at home now.
We're like, I'm gonna go to a coffee shop just today and just get some stuff done and free flowing air.
Yeah. No, we're very lucky, and I don't forget that for sure.
Yeah. My follow-up question to that is, as high performers, as entrepreneurial types, write news is like one of my very good friends, she was a CNN producer for a really long time. And
Bless her
she
heart.
and I were like, we think we're addicted to just being addicted to things. Like you just gotta have that recognition because you're like used to just having an insane amount of work, especially when I was doing we were doing breaking news. I wasn't a producer, and I wasn't on your side of the business. But so learning how to relax, right? And how to shut it off. How do you guys turn that off? I know I kind of started this romantic, the idea and just that appreciation or that mindset. But how do you relax?
That's something I've only learned in the last couple of years.
It's so
relaxing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you
time
just
for
learned
myself.
This is a human experience that's it takes an incredible amount of intention to get to.
Totally.
Love to hear about it.
For me, my most intentional me time is when Sam and I can walk the dogs. That's kind of what we always say is that's how we relax, we unplug, we go for a walk together, we get to talk, just the two of us.
Yeah.
The boys get to get exercise, and we just get to get some fresh air. Also, the gym for me has been hugely impactful in my happiness, my mental health, everything. Taking that time, putting away my phone. I'm like, okay, this is 30 to 60 minutes for myself, something I'm doing for myself, and giving back to me and my body and allowing me to show up in my job. But for a long time, it was just work, showing up for work only and not showing up for myself. And so finding ways to show up for myself are the ways I relax. And if that's cooking a meal with my husband or sitting and watching a show or going to get a facial here and there, great. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Love a good facial.
Yeah.
You ever do the hydro ones? What's the hydrofacial?
Hydrofacial?
You ever see the water after?
Oh, yeah, it's gross.
I can only imagine.
It's fun gross.
It's in my face is
You're
dirty.
hell yeah.
Who doesn't love a good
hell yeah, get it out of there.
Right.
I'm always can I see it? No, just kidding.
Right. Kind of want to look though.
But I want to see the water. Yeah. When they show me.
Right. Just show me.
They're you're dehydrated. I'm show me.
Yeah. What does it look like, though? I like shopping. I like to travel. I like to write. I like to create stuff. I don't know. I feel work is so compartmentalized in my head. If I'm working, I'm working. And if I'm not working, I'm not working. I will not touch my phone for 24 hours with glee.
Teach us.
I'm gonna take some work to get there.
It's hard, and I don't know if it's the best necessarily for me professionally, right? Because I'm not always going to be on top of everything, but I don't need to be. And I think that realizing that I am literally just a human being, and the idea that I'm going to be able to do everything at once is nuts. And again, reprioritizing, what means the most to me, what makes me happy. And it's quality time is my love language. So being able to sit down and hang out, let's hang out. Yeah. Whatever that means to you, I want to do that. And that means we're not looking at our phones and we're not trying to figure something. We're just with each other, whether that's my friends, family, whatever. And so prioritizing that and making space to just spend good quality time with people doing anything. I don't care. We can go bowling, we can knit. It doesn't matter as long as it's just for fun. And doing that regularly and making it the way that I should go to the gym, I hang out with my friends.
That's just as important.
Religious. But I also wish that I went to the gym more because I remember feeling a lot happier when I was much more active. So you might have just put something in my head.
So both. I know that when I'm traveling is when I fall into the I need to be plugged in. I need to, as soon as I get off the plane, I'm just going to plug in real fast. And it's I check the email and I'm all right, work will always be there. Take a minute.
Right.
And I love what you said, I'm just human.
Right. I'm literally just a girl.
Human.
And we always say, I'm to my team, I'm Nobody's dying on our watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's the holidays. If somebody like can't find their link to their gallery, like they can dig in their own inbox and find it. You don't need to get on over the holiday to resend them the link. Like, it's not life or death.
Want to hear a new policy from my business? The lost and found fee.
Love it. I love that.
You can find the link yourself, but you want me to stop what I'm doing to find the link for the photo or the thing, and you certainly have it. I'd be happy to send that back to you, but here you have to schedule time on a paid moment in time on my Calendly for me to do it, and then you'll have it after that. Like, I just can't keep up with the volume. Obviously, everyone does their own business, you know, like, do like you? That, but I was like, I just, because you do so much volume, I've done so much volume with you guys too, right? That I'm like, I can't. If everyone were to reach out to me right now, I'd be swamped doing that only. And that's not paid work. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's a simple email for sure.
I also just invested in an executive assistant.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was like filling out a W-9 at a bar last week. And when my friends was like, absolutely not. You know, I do executive assistant work. I was like, oh my God.
Okay, wait. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was an EA. Mm-hmm. So I have like my vision of what an EA should do and be. And I've worked with EAs before for me, but I'm like, I never found that chemistry. So what the hell do you delegate? Like, what do you delegate when you're the business? Right. Like, what do you delegate?
I think the only reason that this relationship is going to work is because the person who I just hired has been my friend for 20 years.
Yeah.
So they can hound me. They don't mind double, triple texting me.
It is, yeah.
I don't mind giving them the passwords to my email. Yeah. I don't mind them knowing, managing my schedule. Like, the full trust is already there. We don't have to build it through a working relationship. And I feel I was not even, there's no way I would have sought out an executive assistant if she specifically had not said to me that she would do it. Like, the medium is so the message, especially when it comes down to, like, I don't know, they're really in your life, you know. I think it requires a lot of trust and belief on both ways. So I think I just got lucky with that, because I don't know how you find someone that you want to give your email password to.
And delegate.
And like, you do this, I do that. You do this, or I'm not going to do that, or I need this done. Like, it's way easier when someone's like, I think I need to take this over because you don't seem like you have enough time.
That is what everybody needs.
You're right. I don't.
Someone who sees the issue and then is like, let me take it upon myself to do that for you.
The goal.
Right. And then I'm like, that's worth a lot of money to me. So keep it up and we can figure out how to make it work, because that's everything, right? Like, if I'm not, and I'm constantly disorganized up here because there's just the volume of everything is too much. I'm just looking down the line. I'm like, how am I going to keep?
You're like super in demand too. So it's like,
I could be more in demand. Anybody watching?
Every time I see you, I literally see you out and about at gigs. You're like, I'm working this one. I've seen you working. It's amazing.
Yes, that's true. So but it's helpful to have somebody who's not afraid to tell you what they think you need.
Yeah.
Even if you're in charge, technically.
Yeah. I know Ty is not your assistant, but I mean, he manages, like, I work with him on scheduling, you know, and he's great. Like, he's an extension of you. I feel that. How do you delegate?
Well, Ty is our studio manager at the studio. Shout out.
Not yet. Yeah, we love Ty.
The GOAT, the best. But internally, I call Ty the backbone of the business, because he really is. Like, we would fall apart without him. But it was challenging for me for a long time. It still is, to outsource, to delegate, to like give things up that are part of my baby, right? And now not only my baby, it's a baby to many people, which I'm grateful for. But I think what you said is, like, we all have our strengths, and like what you said about it all being disorganized up here, like, I so relate to that. Like, I have my own system of organized chaos, but is that ever going to be organized to somebody else? Probably not. And Ty's strength is organization. And so he has many strengths. One of his strengths is organization. And so we together came up with systems, and we figured out what is it that I need to be doing and what is it that he can be doing. And now we're starting to figure out what is it that we can now outsource to an additional person because we need additional help. And so I really look at Ty as like my right hand, and we are definitely in it together. We're on most emails together. We both have our hand in in scheduling and in contracts and all of those things. So it just is really dependent on the project for what he's tackling and what I'm tackling. And that's a system that we've just had to figure out internally.
For my business, I have a magazine. I like to do photo shoots. I do photo shoots for my clients, but the basis of it is PR and communications. So I hired I was at like a small business conference, and this girl came up. She had like this one pager that was like, I am the executive assistant of your dreams. I'm not gonna say her name, but like she walked right up and like was like, I would love to help you with your business. And I was like, yes. I felt so excited about this girl. She probably did like 7 hours with me total. And so we have our first meeting, and I'm like, this is my schedule. This is how I schedule myself. Here's my information. What questions do you have? Like, I don't know. I just don't know what to delegate.
Right.
So let's do this. And she's like, when's our photo shoot? I was like, yeah. I mean, it was just so awkward. It was so awkward. And I'm like, that's not the business. The business is not just doing photo shoots. Obviously yours is your friend, but do you get people who want to work with you just for like the glamour side of it?
I have gotten many, many people, yes, for that. And it's a vetting process.
Yeah.
I always ask people, like, what is your long-term goal? And like a lot of the people wanted to work for me because they wanted to start their own blog or like be an influencer, which is amazing. And I'm more than happy to sit down for coffee with any of those people to help give advice. Like, that's not the type of people I need to help run my business. I want someone who's passionate about what we're doing and to help grow our business, not someone who's coming to learn to then leave.
Yeah.
Right. And start their own business, which there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm a full support of everybody following their dreams and doing what they want. But like, I want a team who like loves what we are doing.
Yeah.
And wants to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And not.
Well, there's like a back end to this work. Like the glamorous stuff is great and it's fun and we get to live that.
Day to day is not glamorous.
Day to day
there's no glamour.
No, like me, it's 4 p.m. I'm still in my PJs. I haven't had a chance to shower or brush my teeth.
Like I'm literally dirty. Like I'm not clean.
Okay, tell us the gross stuff, guys. Like give me a real day. I mean, I'm not saying like, but you know,
it is gross. Like I think about when you're doing like TV, you're really sweaty. Like you're really, really, really hot. And managing your sweat is something that you think about a lot. And that's gross. It's horrible. And you know,
just because you're on the go and you're under lights and you're
the lights, the stress, the anxiety. I think that this is awesome because this is getting cut. Yeah. I'm used to doing live television where hope you don't fuck up, you know, hope you don't actually drop an F-bomb, you know, because that's going to cost the station $5,000. You know, like there's so many things that are making you like, I think about like I would cover restaurants a lot and I'd be at these gorgeous tables filled with food and I would not have an appetite because I was so stressed to make sure that I got everything that I needed and that, you know, the audio was working and the interview went well and we got enough B-roll. I didn't even have an appetite to eat. I've been around all this amazing Michelin star food and I have like a bite and I'm like, I'm good because my anxiety has destroyed my appetite. So I'm like, you think that this is cute. Like I walk in here, I have the time of my life and go home. Like, no, I come in, I get dirty, I don't eat anything. And then I go home. So I think people who are chasing glamour they always get a little bit of a side eye from me because I'm like, that means you think this isn't hard work. And that's concerning to me because it's really hard work.
Yeah. No, day to day is not glamorous. Day to day is like trying to figure out how to plunge a toilet at a commercial space. That's something I never thought about in opening a space is like plumbing and like literal shit. There. Like my husband and I have been on our hands and knees like in literal shit coming out of the shower at the studio an hour before an event because somebody poured a salad down our toilet. Somebody tried to flush a salad.
Oh my God, it wasn't me. That is so gross.
I doubt it was you. And I don't know what happened, and there was sewage coming out of our shower. So that's the literal gross side of what we deal with in running a business.
I just can't picture it. Like it's a cartoon in my mind. Yeah. It's such a beautiful space. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hopefully that never happens again.
No. I have a wagon. I lug all my shit. I mean, that's not like gross.
Oh yeah, I just bought a Hulkin bag on Black Friday. Pretty stoked about it.
Yeah.
Right. You get excited about like things that you can port other things in. Like that's what gets you going.
I'm like, wow, I can carry a lot.
Yeah, look how much stuff I can carry.
One bag. I no longer need to carry 10 bags.
My grossness is mostly just like bad habits. And so I've gotten much better, but every once in a while I would leave I'm the type of person that's like, I have mini glasses. Like today I had my collagen pink drink. It's like a dragon fruit drink. It's really good. I had my coffee, I had my green juice, and I had my water bottle. I'm always drinking water and something. So at the office, it's like suddenly I have to leave, and so leave. One time I left like coffee out for like the weekend, and I came back with like a layer of mold, and I was like, "Oh, gross!" I mean, that's not like gross. It's just a really gross habit. I'm sure we've all done that in like weird ways,
unfortunately.
But I think for me, it's like I've really gone above and beyond to like stay organized and keep my shit clean. But I would say in previous years, maybe in the earliest side of the business, my husband would call it Hurricane Tammy because I'm just like, when I'm busy, man, like just throw, and it's in the way.
Yes, me too. I feel like
the dish and the
best things I did for myself
as like go. The counter like consistently like had like a layer. Now I'm like, I spray, like I'm good, you guys, I'm good. My house is like pretty clean. But there was just like seasons of like not a high standard of clean, which is, you know, I mean, not that like you need to be, but anyway, yeah, there's just like a grossness. And I think it was because my mind was just going all the time. Like I needed to be plugged in. I need to be here. I need to be there. And it just didn't matter. It was just the laundry pile. Right. And when I lived alone, I always had this laundry pile on the other side of the bed. Because nobody slept there.
Yeah. That's for you.
I just moved it, you know, whatever. But we can't have that now because there's, you know, I have a husband.
Right, I was going to say somebody else is unfortunately there now.
But I think that's just like the symptoms of like whatever, you know, whatever. Oh my gosh, but I'm so sorry that you had to like someone salad. Do you know who it was?
No, I wish. There was a big shoot going on that day, so there were a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, it's like you need it done now.
Yeah. We ended up calling like a service, and they were like, somebody poured like a salad. And I was like, what?
Yeah, but
I never understood the only put toilet paper in the toilet signs. I'm like, who else is throwing other stuff in the toilet? But apparently,
people think they can flush anything. They're like, it's just going to disappear, right? Yeah, no, it's going to come back out the shower, actually.
Oh my God. Welcome back to part 2 of our first episode of the Broad Shoulders podcast. I have Jamaica and Allie here with me, and we're just talking about things that we've talked about throughout the years with the Broad Shoulders, which is really universal conversations. I love hearing other people's stories, and I learn from them. I improve from them. It's really been healing, and I'm going to be a mother soon. And I remember when one of our panelists, who was a new mother, who by all society standards has like every economic opportunity. Like she needs a nanny, she gets a nanny. Yeah. She needs a night nurse. So all the things. And she's like, I don't care how much help you have. It is crazy. Right. And I just never thought of it. Like at that time I wasn't thinking about motherhood. And so now I'm on that sort of era, and it's just fun to compare notes with the Broad Shoulders community on many different fronts. So love to hear, neither of you are moms, but like, how are you thinking about motherhood at the stage of life that you're in, if at all?
I think it sounds really expensive.
Right? I used to think it was like life was over.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people my age share this. I'm 26. It's like I can't afford to have kids and not give them anything similar to what I had growing up. It just doesn't seem, it's something I do want, but I'm not nipping at the bit. I don't think that it's something that I would want anytime soon, mainly because of the finances around it. I'm also really concerned about our schooling system, and I want to send my kids to public school. So I kind of need to think a little bit more about that as just things change. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's unappealing, like to being a parent right now for all of these external factors, not because I don't want to be a mom, but it just looks like it's so hard. Yeah. Like the world doesn't seem to be accommodating in it at all. If anything, it's getting less accommodating for mothers. And I don't know, maybe you disagree, but that's what it seems like.
Like we're just taking it day by day at this point, moment by moment. But it's like eventually we're going to have to face like the realities of like schooling and education. And right now I'm like, I'm not sending my kid out in that world anywhere.
Right. And you look at how kids are turning out these days. They can't read. They can't hold eye contact. I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like, how do you,
Yeah. How do you make sure you don't have that?
I told my mom the rates that we were getting from like neighborhood Montessori schools and daycare. My mom's like, I can't afford that. And my mom had 4 kids by the time, like under 5. So she was like, how did you do that, by the way? And she stayed home. We were very lucky in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's like, it's expensive. It's crazy. But thank you for sharing your perspective, because it's like, I'm just curious how we're thinking about it now, just wherever we're at in life.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be a mom from the time I was a young girl. I've always loved kids. I've loved babies. I'm like a natural caretaker, but it's interesting. The older I get, the less I feel ready.
Yeah.
Because I think I understand more the reality of what it's like to get pregnant, stay pregnant, have a healthy child, a healthy birth, and then figure out what it looks like from there. But even like those are things that I feel like aren't talked about really. I never really knew until my best friend had her first son just over 4 years ago. He turned 4 in October. And I was like, wow, honestly, thank you for like being so transparent with me about all of this, because why don't we talk about this? Like, why do we not know what is really involved and like what women really go through, and the support that, to your point, the support that we all really need in that journey. And then it's a whole nother level to add to someone who's self-employed. I mean, I don't, you know, I don't get a maternity leave, all these things. So then I need to figure out when that time comes, which is a little bit of a ways away, but not that far away. I'll be 33 next month and my husband's 35. So, you know, it's something we need to start thinking about in the next couple years. And it's exciting, but very intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah. My attitude forever was like, no. But we're here. We're on the cusp. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I applied to like the most dumb jobs on LinkedIn, because I was like, maternity leave. Yeah. Because I don't get maternity leave. Right. No. And then honestly, like the blessing of the universe happened in Q3 and 4 year before I had the baby. And I just rolled in enough to have like a nest and be able to take that time off. Yeah. But it wasn't a reality when I found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so we're just not going to have an income. Okay. And then my husband, he does okay, you know, he does well, but I don't want to live under his universe of money. You know, no. I don't need to like ask him for money. Ooh, like it's weird.
And why should that be a stipulation for me to be a mom? Like, that I have to give up my financial independence or autonomy? Like, that sucks. It seems like I'm putting myself in a kind of a bad position if I do that. So I don't know. I think it's really great with that for women when they can figure it out and things work out and you can have a baby and like, but I know a lot of people who want to, but don't feel like it's too frightening. Like the idea of not having an income and like, and folks are like, I don't know how I would make that work, even if they really do want to be a mom. And I think that is a huge mistake that we just have made, like as a society. Like, things should be more accommodating to families. Like, life should be easier for families, because people should be able to start families and not bankrupt themselves. And kids should be able to have easy, fun childhoods without having rich parents. Like, that should not be a prerequisite to having a fulfilling childhood.
Access to good education for all children.
Right. Fresh food, good childcare, sports, athletics, art. We know these things are not ubiquitous. So like, how do you want me, someone who knows what the world is like, to then comfortably bring my kid into it if I can't have access to all these private forms of like life, basically? I don't know. It makes me so upset when I see how difficult everything is, specifically for women who want to become moms. I'm like, why are you barring us from this? In a way, it feels like,
Yeah, I want to go back like a couple minutes, but you said your best friend, you know, you had a moment with your best friend saying, you know, why don't we talk about this more? What specifically in her journey, if you're willing to share, or like, what was it that you're like, we needed to talk about? What needs to be brought to the forefront from your view?
Just in general, I mean, we joke all the time that like you spend your whole life trying not to get pregnant, and then you want to get pregnant and you can't get pregnant. Yeah. And everybody thinks until, you know, maybe you know someone who's had challenges or you've had challenges yourself. But that's really what we go through our whole life, right? Is like, protect yourself from not getting pregnant, But then what does it actually look like when the time comes that you do want to get pregnant? And I just never fully understood how challenging that journey could be.
IVF is the worst, but it's the best. I just talked to a friend yesterday who's going through it, and I went through 2 years of it. We're in like the upside of IVF, but it's so overwhelming. And she's sort of, she's in it. She's like in the middle of it right now. And but there's so much information. And then one of her like friends or someone she knows, she was talking to, like, I don't know the context, but is like a natural health
like a doula
expert,
sort of,
like a hormone.
Okay.
I don't know exactly, but the perspective from that person was like, oh, you can just heal your body. And I'm like, okay, how long does it heal? What do? Do you do this invasive medicine to like that has a clear process and attempts depending on where you're at in the process, or do you like completely stop that and heal your body, or is it just becomes very overwhelming of like what door you go down, and whatever door you go down is like, is that the right one? And I felt that a lot. I was like, I hate my clinic, I want to move on. But it was like the process just is very difficult, and it's, you know, there's no clear answer, just like anything in life. Okay, I'd love to hear professionally, what are some of your biggest fuck ups that you've learned from?
I mean, there's been many. I'm trying to think of a specific example. But I think just like over the years, I've just learned that like you just gotta like cover your ass.
Yeah.
And like everything needs to be written down. Yeah. Everything needs to be signed. Everything needs to be discussed in writing. Like no matter how small or big, expectations need to be set.
Yeah.
You know.
One time I chased a coworker through the newsroom yelling at him because he was pussying out of a conversation that we needed to have. Yeah. And my bosses were like, you cannot chase people down and yell at them, you know? And I was like, he's a 30-year-old man. Why is he running away from me? And I learned in that time that, you know, my New Jersey tendencies to curse a motherfucker out don't always work in corporate environments. Yeah. They gave me a little talking to. But I was like, fuck him, you know? But, you know, and I think that, again, the medium is also the message. And I was blessed to have a Black female boss at the time. She's like, you and your little black ass can't go around cursing people out. And not in a corporate environment, you're going to get fired. Yeah. And I'm really thankful that I had mentors who were super straight up with me about how what I do comes across differently than what other people do.
Yeah.
Fair or unfair may it be, that's just what it is. And because I thought that I could I watch people curse each other out all the time. But then when I do it, it's a problem. And no, that's not really fair, but it is how people are going to perceive you. So the little hoodlum needs to be kind of like buried down more than it was. Because, I
mean, I can't imagine you doing that, but I've only known you for a short time. But it's also like when you're coming up, you're like, shouldn't we call people out? Shouldn't we let them know? I can understand why that happened.
I kind of don't feel bad about it, but it wasn't a good professional decision. Yeah. He needed to be cursed out. I should have waited till 3 p.m. on the playground. It didn't need to happen in the newsroom, you know? Yeah. But I think that, learning how to navigate advocating for yourself. Yeah. But keeping it professional is something that I had to learn, because I have no problem advocating for myself, but it might include some ad hominem attacks, you know, which don't belong in the workspace, or, you know, it might get a little personal because I do personally dislike you. Now it is personal, you know, because you're but again, that's there's just a certain level of refinement that I had to gain about myself when doing business interactions. So I don't curse people out anymore, or if I do it, you know, it's polite. Or at least diplomatic.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, what did you feel like shame right away, or frustrated, or like, were you like, what was your immediate?
Furious.
Yeah.
What happened, he tried to call me out on something that was not my fault and embarrass me in front of our coworkers. And then when I asked him to have a private conversation about it, because I felt like it was unfair what he had said and it wasn't accurate. And when we sat down to speak in a closed room, which I had asked him to join me in, he was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't handle this conversation, and got up and like ran away. So I chased him.
You were like, you were calling him out.
Sit your ass back down. Yeah. We're going to talk about this, because you don't get to call me out in front of people and then just dictate whether or not we hash it out. Yeah. So now I'm chasing you. Oh, and now we're in the middle of the newsroom. And now it's a scene. So it escalated very quickly, but I felt really strongly. I think that if you embarrass somebody, you should apologize to them in front of the same audience in which you embarrassed them. Yeah. That wasn't going to happen, but I think at the very least,
he should apologize to you.
Yeah, you have to say sorry. Yeah, it's not cool. I got my apology, but I also got a talking to from my news directors. You know, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My biggest fuck up actually was very recently. I entered a partnership where we were providing services for a company, and I pretty much did all of the work, and really was like no delusion. It was some of my best work too. I'm still very proud of it. And something was not quite right with my partner on the project. I know I'd been friends with her for a while, and full disclosure, like gave her money, and we drank wine on my sofa at work during low moments and how she was feeling. And there was like a friendship there. It just came up on my like memories of like us taking a picture. I'm like, my sister, like I just had it wrong. I just had it so wrong. But she was very, very early on in her entrepreneurial journey. And not that I'm like super seasoned pro, but her woes were just like those early things of like, how do I charge and how do I get my name out there and how do I make consistent business and like scarcity. And so I just had this like, I'll just help. I'll just show her. And I totally did the almost, I don't know if it's like a little sister thing or whatever, but it was like, I was like, oh, well, she'll just learn. If I just do all this stuff, then she'll learn. And then she can get up on her feet and we can, certainly she brought value to the partnership and had amazing contacts and did some amazing things. But I know that was like, I set her up to be successful. She didn't have to do any thinking. And something weird happened where I got this barrage of emails and texts that were like, you need to report to me, like you need to run things by me before you go to the client. And again, like in this context, it was a corporate client, and I've worked with corporate company, like I've worked at an executive like level for a very long time. And I knew that her style wasn't like as accommodating working with really high, busy, like performing C-level folks. So it was like, to run things by her would be like duplicating my work. And in this case, again, it was like a partnership. So I was already working at half the rate. So it just like didn't make sense to me. It just got weird. I think she got paranoid and was accusing me of scheduling meetings without her and taking meetings without her in the room. And I was like, I wouldn't do that. I just would not do that. So communication got totally screwed up. And I don't know. I wasn't trying to be a superhero. I'm not trying to like save people. I have to save myself. But I just really hoped that she would kind of grow and we're in different like age brackets. This is not someone who's younger than me, but I really hope that she would see like, this is how you manage client relationships. And this is how you get, big vision ideas. And this is how you get the client to like really see value in it. Cause in any job and anything, you really have to advocate for yourself, right? You're a photographer. People are like, just pick up the camera. Like, no, this is my art. I take time to do this. I'm a publicist. Like, no, it's not just, let me just put you on the news. Like, there's a lot to get through to get to that point. And my perspective as a publicist is like, how is that going to be the best interest for your bottom line of your business? So anyway, you guys get it. But it just got really ugly. And so where my biggest fuck up was, specifically was I called the client and I was like, because this person was like, we need to split the contracts. Like, I don't want to work with you anymore. We were on one contract with the client. I called the client. I'm like, hey, there's been a communication. I just was like really honest with the client. And that I think was the beginning of the end with that client, because for them, it was like, oh, I was the one, like where there's smoke, there's fire. And I was just trying to be really honest because I kind of thought they realized like I was the one, like I was the architect of this. And so it just all broke down and it just became... And I just apologized profusely to the client. But really, it was just this imagination of things, of communication. But like the work was still, like we were crushing it. I mean, it was still, like I love the work we did. We're going to take some of those models and apply them to next year's business, next year's clients. But yeah, it was just like I think I talked to Hannah about it on the airplane. I was like, man, I'm just still like trying to wrap my head around this. And it's just about having clear expectations and partnerships and having those conversations on the front end. And it was like, I don't know. I kind of thought like she would learn and she'll grow from this. Like she'll see, and she didn't see because she didn't give a shit. She just was, the client kept her, and then now they don't even work together anymore. And she got some shit press. But anyway, too much. But point is like not having like, not being on the same page. And you don't have to be on the same page all the time with everybody, all the things. But just not having like not having clarity in what the partnership is about and how you're performing that. And I wish I took that time. And I probably wouldn't have gone through with the partnership. I probably would have just taken it on my own, you know, and hired her as a freelancer or something. But I just won't do that. So now I'm kind of in this stage right now of like, no, like it's me and I'm not going to outsource anything. And I'll ask for help when I need creativity of when I'm hitting challenges. But I'm just not going to partner. It just doesn't work. Like for me, I don't know. Unless I have a lot of conversations, but that even goes back to the delegation side of like, God, like where do you begin with that stuff? It's so hard to trust after you go through something like that. It was just a big fuck up.
Yeah.
Just a big fuck up. All right, your turn.
I really wish I had something. I was so invested in listening that I wasn't thinking about my...
No, I get it though. Like, but even the small things, right? It doesn't have to be the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I think we can all
can
say,
be big things, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think we can all say, like, it goes back to like, have clarity, get shit in writing. Yeah. Don't take bullshit. How would you have handled that now, knowing that the outcome was as you described your biggest fuck up?
I would have done the exact same thing. I haven't learned a damn thing. No, I probably, honestly, I don't know. I think that I still struggle with the idea of not like immediately confronting an issue when it presents itself. And I tried to be an adult about it. You know, I tried to have an aside conversation. Maybe I'd wait till again after work, knowing that I want to pop off. But I don't know, maybe I would put something in writing and copy our news director. Maybe and perhaps I would have a far more tame conversation and follow it up with like a strongly worded email.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I would have waited till I was a little bit more calm and not as pissed. Because I think that I let my emotions dictate me a little bit more than I would have liked. But I also think that just comes with maturity. Like this was several years ago now at this point. So I would like to think that I don't have those same emotional responses anymore.
Yeah.
At least not in professional environments. But this is like when I first started out and I was just like on fire, you know, like I just said what I wanted and I did what I wanted and, you know, and it was not cool. I got in trouble like all the time. I can't believe I didn't get fired, but my bosses liked me. So they gave me a lot of grace. Like, but the things I would do, like journalists are not allowed to do. Like I would post fundraisers for nonprofits. You're not allowed to raise money for other people. I would post political stances and views. You're not allowed to do that. Please, the number of things that I should not have done, but people were nice enough to be like, oh, you're just young and stupid. Yeah. It's not your fault. I'm like,
it's crazy how like emotions in the workplace is like this glaring thing. One time, actually like probably twice, but one was very understandable. It was a sudden passing of a family member. And I was like, I have to just not work right now.
Yeah.
And they were very understanding. But one time I was really frustrated because they hired someone. They hired someone over me for a job that I interviewed for an internal promotion and didn't like pull me aside to have a conversation. They just announced it on email. And I mean, I was like probably 25, 26. So I was like, you know, like not young, not 20, you know, not 17, but was very hurt and I just couldn't control it. And I was like, I have to run out for the day. And I got a lot of backlash for that. Like I had like a sitting down, like, you know, you need to get your shit together, sort of like reprimand over it. And it was like, I didn't do anything, you know, I didn't chase after someone, yelled at
anybody out.
But
just left.
It was like emotions in the workplace. I don't know.
I think that's like you shouldn't treat your employees as though they're robots unless you want robotic work out of them. But at the same time, there has to be like a certain standard for...
I don't think you were being sensitive either. The guy was being a jerk to you.
No, he's being an asshole and he deserved to get cursed out. But regardless, like my boss's job is to maintain a productive work environment, right? And so there has to be a way to handle conflict that doesn't cause disruption and doesn't cause other people to be taken away from what they're doing. Like a scene in the middle of the newsroom, no matter how justified I might feel, and they might agree with me, they did. Yeah. But they're like, you can't do it like that. Like there just has to be a certain level of decorum for the interest of our business goals. And that as I start my own business, I have a lot of respect for. So at the same time, I want to hold space for lyrics of Defying Gravity. No, for my
Oh my God. Did you see Wicked?
of course.
Twice.
So good.
But I want to hold space for, the people I work with and the people I bring into my world. Like, I want them to feel safe, and I want them to feel as though if they do have an emotional reaction because something happened, that it will be addressed, it'll be handled, acknowledged, it'll be treated fairly. But the drama part, no drama. And that's what I was bringing in, was the drama. And so my bosses had to figure out how to it's a dance a little bit, how to manage people.
Little bit of Tetris.
And I think watching that taught me a lot about managing people, because I felt like I was treated well, even though I was kind of in the wrong. But I walked away from it feeling fulfilled, and like my bosses had heard me out, and like we had settled something. And that's not easy to do. That's hard from a manager's perspective. Like, I respect how they do that in that newsroom a lot.
Yeah, I guess it's like you're not like a victim in this scenario. It's like at the end of the day, the big picture is productivity.
Exactly, right.
Like, let's all just keep going. Can't just leave in the middle of the day. Like, fine, whatever.
I'm like, okay, but I had to go.
But I had to cry because that was some bullshit.
Right.
Okay, welcome back to part 3 of the first season of the Broad Shoulders podcast. We're talking about relationships. I'll start. But I had this, the reason I wanted to talk about this and hear from both of you is like, I had this moment with my husband the other day where I'm like, oh my God, he's my other half. Like, this person has healed me. This person just like takes care of, he's the yin to my yang, like the things he's great at in life, I am less great at. I just would love to hear about your relationships as much as you want to share. If you consider them your other half, and like maybe, and I'll share more too, but like, what are some of the things that they just do that like you don't want to deal with? I don't know. I'm just kind of like, they're your other half. Like, I just really was feeling strong. Like, he is the other part of my being.
That's very sweet, by the way.
But I also want to hear other people's perspectives, because like, you just got married.
I did.
And whenever you talk about Peter, you're like, Peter!
I love Peter. It's my favorite person, like without any competition, like not even close. So yeah, I mean, I can go. I don't know. Like I feel very complete by myself, and I feel like being with Peter makes my life far better than I could do by myself. I'm fine alone. Like I like being by myself. I think that's fine. But I also know that we're social people, and I've always had a desire for like one partner, and like just a best friend and everything, right? And so when I realized that Peter was that to me, I was just like, oh, okay, this is real. People always talk about finding the one or somebody that you could see yourself. But I never experienced that until I met Peter. I was like,
how did you meet?
We went to school together, and we were friends for several years, but he is a year younger than me. And so he went through a major growth spurt. And then he came back to school one year, and I was like, oh.
Peter.
Hello, Pete. But he's a scientist, and he's very nerdy. And so he's not necessarily going to be in your DMs, which is what I love about him. But he's, when he got hot, I was like, oh, wait, we can actually, because I know I could hang out with you every single day, but like, now you're sexy? Oh, man, I'm out of luck, bro. So, yeah, and I also think that getting them young is a good idea, because you can kind of like mold people in the way, especially men. I think that their quality of life, or like their expectations for like what they think life should be like, they need a woman to enhance it.
Totally. Yeah. We are the magic to their universe.
Like literally, like we add, but you need a man who's willing to accept that.
Yeah.
And I think that
trainable.
Exactly. 'Cause, I mean, I just think about the things that my single guy friends, the way that they live, and I'm like, wow, your life would be so much better if you had a woman in it.
Yeah.
But you need to be open to letting love in, and like letting somebody like add that femininity and that, kindness and warmth that I try and bring to my relationship, that I think, and this is, I think, very like gender binary, but it's also kind of how women are like socialized to be caregivers and to take care of other people and not always ourselves first. And then men are socialized to kind of anticipate that, you know? And so I think also finding a guy who has been socialized correctly to not want to take advantage of your warmth and love, but to contribute it to it and protect it and like be that other half, whatever that is for you. I feel lucky to have found somebody who fits, because I feel like I'm like a weird puzzle shape. So the fact that I found someone who matches, I'm like, you're weird too.
Right. So can I just go a little deeper? Mm-hmm. So like it sounds like he fit, right, for you. I mean, for anybody, right? Like but he was willing to not only receive love, like, right, like receive the care, but also give that back. Like, is that what you were saying?
Super reciprocated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just openness openness to love.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think everybody's like necessarily open to it, even if they want to be in a relationship. Like, being in love is not like going on dates. It's like putting up with each other's shit, literally and figuratively.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And so, I think people see nice relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I want that. And we don't talk about nearly enough how much work it takes.
Yeah.
And so, I think that someone else who's also willing to do that work, that's what I needed.
Yeah. What's something that, if you're willing to share, like that you've worked on or you're working on?
Oh my God, so many things. I think our communication styles are really different.
Yeah.
Our values are really similar, but the way that we operate is so different. So learning to accommodate each other, you know, like from how we argue to how we express ourselves to all of that. Like, it's
learning to argue is a real part of a relationship.
Yes,
for real, because you have to be able to disagree.
Yeah. My husband's an attorney, and I'm like, these are feelings. This is not the court of public opinion.
Right. And so, like, but figuring out how to navigate when you disagree without hurting one another too much, you know, but getting
sometimes
your
you're
point
just
across.
pissed and you just go for that low blow. Like, I've done that, and he's done that, and then we're like, we're so
why do we do that? So much. I don't. And so, I think that
I don't mean it.
Learning to be with somebody who just is different than you are, which is what I want, but that doesn't make it easy.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
My husband's the best, but like sometimes the what's for dinner text, I'm like, motherfucker, like I don't fucking care.
I just sent my what's for dinner text. I want
to send the what's for dinner text.
That's the perfect text to receive. Like, I would love to get a text from Sam being like, I want carbonara for dinner. I'd be like, hell yeah, let's have carbonara. But what I don't want is, what do we have for dinner? I'm like,
I don't about it, right? See, like, I don't do the cooking. Peter cooks. He's way better at it. So my labor is figuring out what we're going to have. I'll think about it. I'll make sure the ingredients are in the house. I'll even lay them out on the counter.
Wow.
Look at me helping out. I'll empty the dishwasher too. Damn, I'm feeling generous, but I'm not cooking. So there, and I feel like the same way. Like, the things that I'm gonna physically do it, and I'm gonna spend my time and my energy. What can you do to help me out? Like, what emotional labor can you put in to make this a little easier for me? And so I try and do the same thing.
Yeah, like the day-to-day stuff is where it gets finicky, right? Like dishes and food and dinner. What's for dinner?
Totally.
He empties the dishwasher. I load it. That's the yin and yang. It's wonderful. Yeah. He's like way ahead. I don't even see him do it, and it's done. And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, we always talk about that there's a mental load, a physical load, and a financial load in every relationship. And then how do you balance that? And that we don't really believe in like 50-50 relationships. It's like it's always changing, and sometimes somebody needs to give more, and sometimes somebody needs more of the other person's attention and whatever, and it's always fluctuating. So maybe one week it's 80-20, maybe one week it flips the other way and it's 60-40, but it's rarely ever going to be 50-50. And so how do you balance that and like learn to work together to like create 100%?
Yeah.
But like, where does that come from?
Do you guys have like check-ins?
We call them summits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we like do it over food, and we put it on the calendar, and it's typically when we need to make large financial decisions. Or have something like pressing to talk about, family issues, typically like dealing with each other's parents. I'm like, we need a summit for this one, where you can process, you get your emotions all in a row, you get your paperwork together, you have your shit together, and then you can come down in like a fair and was it like a middle ground?
Yeah.
You're both y'all's favorite restaurant, and you're well fed. Maybe you have a drink in your hand, and the conversation comes a lot easier than, oh, look at this. Why did you spend $2,000 on this? Like, we didn't talk about that. Whoa. We'll summit about it. So
I think that's really smart, because it can build up, and it's just you're doing life together.
Yeah.
Want to share more about you and Sam?
We have
newlyweds.
We got married in July, so we are, yes, still very much newlyweds. But we're very similar, it sounds like, to you and Peter, in that we are complete opposites in every single way except our morals and our values. We align 100% there. And Sam just is different than anybody I had ever met in so many ways. I said in our vows, I was just like thinking about like literally exactly what you said. I said, the first thing I said in our vows when we got married is that that he makes my life infinitely better. And I was the same, that I've always been an extremely independent person. I'm good on my own. I loved my life just with my dog, Obi. The two of us had like 7 or 8 years, us two, we lived alone. I was happy. I was thrilled. I always also wanted a partner, but I wasn't I wasn't unhappy on my own by any means. And I was always challenged in dating because of my career and putting my career first and putting my job first. And so I'm like, in finding Sam, I found like the perfect balance to me as a human, and also somebody who wanted to be my biggest cheerleader and wanted to see me succeed both in a personal and business aspect. That was what I think was a part of what was always missing. And just someone who really like saw me and appreciated me for who I was. And he's totally different than the type of person that I expected I would end up with. But he's better.
In what ways?
Well, he is like 100% an intellectual. He's absolutely brilliant, and he retains information like nobody I've ever met, which is something I'm very jealous of. He reads something once and he always remembers it. So he is absolutely full of knowledge. And anything you could think of, Sam knows everything. Like, it is completely mind-blowing to me all of the time. And our brains just think differently. He is, like, again, very academic, very intellectual, and that's what always has driven him. And like, my brain thinks in images. Like, I am totally a creative thinker. I think outside the box. I've built my life in a non-typical way, in a non-traditional way, I would say. And like, he built his life in a traditional way, and there's nothing wrong with either of those. They're just different, but we complement each other so much. And we just, I mean, yeah, he is definitely my other half and definitely my best friend, and like true partner in life.
What are the ways that you have enhanced their lives?
How much time do you have?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Every way.
I'm like, what?
I think I make life more fun.
Yeah.
Less serious. I think
Do you ever get him, like, I don't know your husband, like, I've met him, of course, but like, is he like serious about something and you kind of have to like nudge him out of it?
Sometimes, yeah, totally. Sometimes, like, you know, now he knows that like he can never go up the stairs ahead of me without like getting his butt grabbed. You know, like he's not like,
they gotta
like
be careful.
Gotta bring the silliness to the relationship.
Like, you don't want your butt grabbed. Don't put on those tight little training
pants.
pants.
Exactly. Or like, let me go up the stairs first. If you're going up the stairs first, you're getting your butt grabbed.
So funny.
No, so I think just, I mean, in so many ways, I think we have made each other's lives better. And I think we've taught each other to see the world through a lens that we didn't see it from without each other.
Yeah.
So it's given us both a more well-rounded view on the world.
Yeah.
Sam always said, or I always say that Sam's the smarter one. And he's like, that's not true. He's like, I'm the one who's smarter in books, but like, you are smarter in the world, and you are smarter when it comes to people and reading people. And so I think we balance each other in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it's EQ and IQ combined, and you can learn from each other.
Totally.
And your job, so for, you know, you've been around people, you photograph people and direct and manage people. So it's like, you really do, like, part of your craft and part of your industry is just people and kind of getting them to move.
And his is too, which is funny. Like, he talks to people all day, every day, and gets to know people for a living. That's what he does. So it is, it's interesting that we, you know, originally came at it from different angles, but I think we've been able to learn a lot from each other.
Yeah. How have you enhanced Peter's life? Hot Peter.
I'm like, I wish he was here to answer.
I know, I gotta meet this Peter character.
I think that I bring more fun into Peter's life. He's a very serious person.
Yeah.
And everything I do is predicated on fun. Like, if it's not fun, like, why are we doing it? But Yeah, and we just have different life experiences that have made us how we are. So I appreciate his seriousness and I understand where it comes from. But it's not good to be serious all the time.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to have a little bit of enjoyment. And I think that he would figure out how to find that within himself, but wouldn't necessarily find it outside in the world.
Yeah.
So what I like to think of myself as like a gateway to the world for him, especially because my job exposes me to so much. We get to experience like everything that the city has to offer. And I'm like, okay, this is what I can give you. I can give you as many experiences as your heart can hold. And yeah, I hope that, paints your life in a certain way, in the way that it paints mine, which is like just colorful and fun and free and exciting. And yeah, so I hope that's what I bring to his life.
Yeah. You are fun. The first time I met you was like the most fun day. I think we were both wearing purple.
I mean, I've only sat on this couch with you and I know you're definitely fun.
Yeah. We were both wearing purple that day and it was like somehow it was an iconic
synergy.
We were meant to be here because we were both wearing purple.
Kind of.
It was really fun. I will say, John, like I did not imagine my life like as a married person, as a mom. Like I thought like, oh, I'll just live in different cities and like eventually get my way to New York and like I don't want to own anything. I don't want anything tying me down. Like that was the vision that I had. And my college boyfriend was, I mean, in so many ways, he was such a great boyfriend. We were together for 5 years. But in other ways, it was like, it just felt so, we were just so like, we were going to get married. And it just felt like I was just going to make pies and not work. And his family had a family business. So it's like, there wasn't a need for the women to work. It was just very defining. And once that ended, I was like, fuck that. Fuck all that. Fuck relate. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship. If that's what it means to be in a relationship, like how much you have to give up. And I would not have gone to DC. I would not have started my career in politics and, everything else that came after that. I would have it's fine if you want to stay home and make pies. Like, I think that's a beautiful life and their family is wonderful, but it just was not the life for me. And so that like shaped my thinking of like, I'll never, I'll date, I'll whatever. But I'm like, love, what the hell is love? And then like John is like my family, he's my home. So that was like, I remember when he bought the condo, even before we got engaged, he bought the condo that we live in now. And I picked it out. He was like, whatever you want. I was like, within, reason. And I just remember crying the night we got the keys. I was like, we have a home somewhere. It's not rent.
Right.
And it's not a shitty apartment. And it's stability. And he was just like, he's just family. So, so I'll leave it there. But I love thank you for sharing about your relationship. Because I think this is something, we talk about obviously with our friends and like there's a select few that really know, but I think it's important for people to see inside the softer side because most people that we interact with probably out in the world are professional in business and how do we keep it together? And I think some of this is what makes us us and be able to do all the things we do out in the world. Any closing thoughts on Broad Shoulders? Our last season was so much fun. Both of you were panelists and co-hosts for the events. Any closing thoughts on Broad Shoulders and what you hope to see from Broad Shoulders in the future?
Just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's so awesome to bring women from different backgrounds all into the same room to find commonalities, to learn from one another. I think it's so important. And, you really walk the walk. I think so many people talk the talk of like women supporting women, like hoo-ha, but like what do they actually do? Right. And you really do that every day and you live and breathe that. And I think Broad Shoulders is a beautiful way that you've brought women together and really walked that women supporting women walk. And I'm all for it. And I can't wait to come attend all the Broad Shoulders.
I know. Are we doing something in 2025 together?
We definitely need to.
Yeah, I like that you're actually about your shit for real.
I meant Broad Shoulders, not me, guys, but I appreciate.
But you are Broad Shoulders.
No, what?
I'll listen. I'll receive.
I meet a lot of people, and they spend a lot of energy selling what they want you to think about them. Like you said, they talk a lot, and that's cool. But when I met you and then I came to your event and I saw the people who show up for you and who came out for you and who want to be associated with your work, I was like, oh, wait, no, you actually do what you say you do. Yeah. And I don't have to take your word for it. There's a room of 24 women here who are singing your praises as somebody who has supported them, been kind to them, shown them friendship and professional, just camaraderie. And I'm like, wow, you know what? I really respect when other people can tell me who you are in a positive way. It's like how smart people don't have to tell you they're smart, and funny people shouldn't have to tell you that they're funny. Like, people who really do what they do, your community will advocate for you. And I feel like yours does. And that makes me really proud of the work that you do. So I'm excited to see more as well.
Thank you for both for saying that. I didn't expect that. I think of Broad Shoulders, it's like the place that I want to be, you know, and I'm happy to be the curator, but I'm also happy to share it and share the microphone. But I just want to go to places where I'm not being like sold to. I attended a small business conference last year, and it was like people were just walking up and selling themselves. Or I don't know if you guys go, I'm sure you go on LinkedIn, and there's people who like only want to transact with you and your messages. They're like, how would you like to get to a 50K? I just got a DM on Instagram from a girl. I was like, how would you like to get to a 50K month? And I'm like,
get the fuck out of here.
I've never met you. Why are you talking about my income?
Right.
I get it. It works for some people. I get it. But I also don't want to be drawn in to like some bullshit. And I've just kind of been on the end loop of like some bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where can we go that's like not bullshit?
Yeah.
And also like the intro is like, we're kind of raising each other. Like, I don't know what I don't know.
Totally.
I didn't know that wool dryer balls were actually better than dryer sheets for your
Gonna have to order
clothes.
some of those.
That's what I do.
I didn't know that until Broad Shoulders taught me that. But I love hearing the stories and the backgrounds and like the situations, and like knowing that kind of I'm not alone, and just also sharing the platform. And it's an extension of like my mission professionally, which is like amplify as many voices in the way that I can. So yeah, Broad Shoulders will continue.
Yes.
It's not membership based, which was really important, because if I don't fucking feel like it, I'm not doing it.
Right.
So whenever I do it, I know that I'm like super focused. I want it to be great. I want to partner and highlight great people. And both of you have been part of that journey. So thank you. And join us in other cities, like maybe a Broad Shoulders Summit one day. I don't know. We're going to try some new things in the future.
That'd be awesome. Like, shoot, Team Vogue can do it.
Yeah, right? Like sponsorships. We need to
Sponsorships.
How do you do that? I tried. It
Figure it
didn't
out.
work very well. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Tam.
It was so fun.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having
having
I'd like talk to you soon, like it's a phone call.
Okay, we're going to leave. Bye.
Okay, talk to you soon.